Welcome to Histories and Native Tales, where today we delve into a remarkable historical account that provides a unique perspective on one of America's most significant battles. Our focus centers on Waterman, a member of the proud Arapaho tribe, whose unexpected journey led him to become an eyewitness to the legendary Battle of the Little Bighorn. In the tumultuous landscape of 19th century Native American relations, Waterman's story begins with a traditional practice common among young warriors of his time. He, along with a small contingent of fellow Arapaho warriors, embarked on what was meant to be a routine scouting mission, primarily searching for their historical rivals, the Shoshones and other tribes considered unfriendly to the Arapaho people. However, fate had different plans for this young warrior and his companions. The expedition took an unexpected turn when they encountered members of the Sioux tribe, who, operating in a climate of deep distrust toward white settlers and their allies, immediately suspected Waterman and his group of being scouts for the U.S. Army. This suspicion led to their capture and detention by the Sioux, though they eventually managed to convince their captors that they held no allegiance to the white settlers. Their status remained precarious, granted limited freedom, but kept under close watch within the Sioux camp. This twist of fate placed Waterman in an extraordinary position. As a restricted guest within the Sioux encampment, he became an unexpected witness to one of the most significant confrontations between Native American forces and the U.S. Army, the Battle of the Little Bighorn. What follows is Waterman's first-hand account of these historic events, offering a perspective rarely found in traditional historical records. In the days of my youth, when the prairie winds carried the whispers of our ancestors, we young warriors of the Arapaho lived by traditions passed down through countless generations. As was our custom, we would form small war parties, our hearts filled with the fierce pride of our people, seeking out our traditional rivals, the Shoshones, and other tribes who stood against us. These expeditions were more than mere raids. They were rites of passage, tests of courage, that shaped boys into warriors worthy of our tribe's respect. Our success in these ventures depended heavily on what we called good medicine, the spiritual force that guided our actions. When the spirits favored us, we would return triumphant to our camp, bringing with us the tangible proof of our valor, enemy scalps or prized horses stolen from rival camps. These trophies were not merely spoils of war. They were symbols of our courage and cunning, marking our growth as warriors of the Arapaho Nation. In those times, the relationship between a warrior and his horse was sacred. During the dark hours of night, we would sleep with our finest horses tethered directly to our teepees, the rope held firmly in our hands, even as we slumbered. This practice spoke to both the deep bond between warrior and steed, and the constant vigilance required in those uncertain times. Among our people, few acts were considered more daring than the silent theft of such a cherished horse from an enemy camp, slipping like a shadow through the night, cutting the rope that bound horse to tepee, and vanishing into the darkness astride the captured mount. I had seen 22 winters pass, when destiny led me to witness the great battle at Little Bighorn River. Though many moons have waned since that day, my memories remain as sharp as an arrowhead, every detail etched clearly in my mind. Of the 5 Arapaho warriors who found ourselves caught up in that momentous conflict, time has taken its toll. 3 of my brothers have gone to join our ancestors in the eternal hunting grounds. Now, only Left Hand and I, Waterman, remain to share this tale. As I feel the weight of years upon my shoulders, I know that soon we too must embark on that final journey to the spirit world. Before that day comes, I must ensure that our part in this great battle is not lost to time. It was during our stay at Fort Robinson, where our people had been forced to depend on government rations, that this story began. Despite the watchful eyes of the agency, I and 4 other young warriors, our hearts still burning with the warrior spirit of our ancestors, secretly departed from the fort. Our stated purpose was to scout for Shoshones, but fate had different plans for us. Plans that would lead us into the heart of one of the greatest battles our people had ever witnessed. I speak these words not as mere stories, but as sacred truths, events witnessed with my own eyes during those fateful days. Every detail I share is as true as the rising sun, for it is our way to honor truth in the telling of great deeds. In those fateful days, I rode with trusted companions, whose names still echo in my memory. Yellow Eagle, whose keen eyes could spot buffalo at impossible distances. Yellow Fly, swift as the wind across the plains. Well-knowing One, whose wisdom belied his years. And Left Hand, my brother-in-arms who had lived to share this tale with me. Together, we ventured northward into the rich buffalo lands, our hearts light with the freedom of the open prairie, unaware of the destiny that awaited us near the waters of the Little Bighorn. It was there that we encountered a small band of Sioux warriors. Their invitation seemed genuine enough. They spoke of a grand Sundance celebration in their village, extending what appeared to be a friendly welcome to join their festivities. Their words were honey-sweet, but concealed the bitter truth of their suspicions. Only later did we learn the real reason for their seemingly generous invitation. They believed us to be spies in service of the white man's army, a deadly accusation in those tense times. As we approached their village, what began as a peaceful encounter quickly turned ominous. A great crowd of Sioux warriors emerged from the camp, their faces hard with suspicion and anger. Before we could speak in our defense, they stripped us of our weapons, our precious guns, vital for both hunting and protection. They declared us traitors to our people, scouts for the white soldiers, and threatened us with death. The shame of being disarmed and the fear of execution weighed heavily upon our spirits that night. We spent those dark hours under heavy guard, our fate hanging by a thread as thin as a spider's web. But with the morning sun came an unexpected ally, Two Moon, the respected chief of the Cheyenne people. Upon learning we were Arapaho warriors, he immediately intervened on our behalf with the Sioux chiefs. His words carried great weight, for the bond between Cheyenne and Arapaho peoples runs deep as ancient rivers. We have always been as brothers, sharing the same struggles and the same dreams across generations. Through Two Moon's intervention, we regained our weapons, a partial restoration of our dignity. Yet freedom remained elusive. While our guns were returned, the Sioux maintained a vigilant watch over our every movement. Their distrust, though lessened, had not entirely dissolved. We were no longer prisoners in name, but neither were we free to depart as we wished. For 2 full days, we watched the sun trace its path across the sky from within the Sioux camp. Then came a massive mobilization. The entire village began to move downstream, establishing a new camp that left me in awe. Never in all my years had I witnessed such a gathering of our people. The village that arose on those banks was vast beyond imagination, stretching as far as the eye could reach, with hundreds upon hundreds of teepees dotting the landscape like stars in the night sky. Looking back now, I understand that we were about to become witnesses to a moment that would echo through time. As I crested the hill, my eyes fell upon a scene that would forever be etched in my memory. There was Custer, the white man's legendary warrior chief, reduced to crawling on his hands and knees in the blood-soaked earth. His buckskin clothing, once pristine, was now darkened with the stains of battle. A grievous wound pierced his side, and crimson life flowed from his mouth with each labored breath. The proud military leader, who had led so many campaigns against our people, was now fighting for his final moments under the merciless summer sun. Through the chaos of battle, I could see him still alert, his eyes tracking the movement of warriors, who circled around him like wolves around wounded prey. 4 of his loyal soldiers remained at his side, though they too bore terrible wounds. These few fought on, while their fallen comrades lay scattered across the battlefield, their bodies still and silent in death. The scene spoke of the futility of their last stand against the overwhelming force of our combined tribes. As I watched, the circle of warriors tightened around Custer and his remaining men, their weapons raised high. The press of bodies blocked my view of what followed. But when the warriors parted again, the sight told the full story of the battle's end. Many of the dead soldiers resembled porcupines, their bodies bristling with arrows, a testament to our traditional weapons proving as deadly as their modern guns in this close combat. When next I glimpsed Custer's form, the great chief lay lifeless upon the earth. Warriors swarmed around his body, their attention focused not on their fallen enemy, but on his fine buckskin clothing. A bitter argument broke out among them, each warrior claiming the right to take these prized trophies of victory. In the heat of their dispute, these garments became worth more than gold, though I cannot say which warrior ultimately claimed them as his prize. By the time the sun had climbed to the 3 o'clock position in the sky, an eerie silence had settled over the battlefield. The great fight that would be remembered for generations had come to its bloody end, leaving only the dead and the victors to tell the tale. After the thunder of battle subsided, I witnessed the squaws crossing the river, moving cautiously among the fallen soldiers to claim their clothing. The scene remains vivid in my memory. These women moving like shadows across the battlefield, their hands quick to gather what spoils they could find. There were moments of sudden terror when a soldier, not yet claimed by death, would twitch or move slightly, causing the squaws to flee in panic before cautiously returning to their grim task. I turned away from this aftermath, choosing not to witness what further actions the squaws took with the dead, though I observed many warriors taking scalps from the fallen soldiers, a traditional mark of victory in our ways. I cannot speak to whether Custer himself was treated similarly. By then, I had already begun my journey back across the river to our camp, leaving the field of battle and its dead behind me. Some stories are better left untold, and some sights are better left unseen, even for a warrior who has witnessed much bloodshed. In this compelling exploration of the Battle of Little Bighorn's material legacy, we shift our focus from the human drama to examine the silent witnesses of this historic conflict, the artifacts left scattered across the battlefield. These remnants provide a tangible connection to one of America's most significant military engagements, offering invaluable insights into the nature and scope of the combat that unfolded on these grounds. The battlefield, in its immediate aftermath, was littered with an extraordinary array of military equipment and personal effects, each item telling its own story of the conflict. Among the most striking discoveries was a collection of 26 arrows recovered from a single fallen trooper's body, a stark testament to the ferocity of the Native American warriors' assault and their effective use of traditional weapons alongside modern firearms. The recovered firearms paint a particularly detailed picture of the battle's arsenal. A Colt .45 single-action Army revolver, discovered years after the conflict, represents the standard sidearm of the 7th Inch Cavalry. This find gains additional historical significance when contrasted with another discovery, a Colt .1860 model revolver unearthed in 1930, 5.5 buried in the riverbank. The presence of this older model revolver, which predated the Army's standard issue weapon, suggests it likely belonged to a Native American warrior who had acquired it prior to the battle. Perhaps one of the most poignant artifacts is a Springfield trapdoor carbine, taken from a fallen trooper and preserved within a Sioux warrior's family until the 1950s. This weapon's journey from battlefield trophy to family heirloom, and finally to historical artifact, encapsulates the complex legacy of the battle and its meaning to both sides of the conflict. Historical reenactments by Custer's Crow Scouts, Harry Moccasin, White Man Runs Him and Goes Ahead have helped historians understand how the battle unfolded, particularly the initial engagement with the Sioux and Cheyenne village. Their demonstrations, combined with the discovered artifacts, provide crucial insights into the battle's tactical dynamics. The battlefield's equine casualties are evidenced by the discovery of horse bones, horseshoes, and leather tack, awaiting burial in 1907, 877. These remains bear silent testimony to the crucial role of cavalry horses in the battle and their shared fate with their riders. Together, these artifacts form a comprehensive material record of the battle's devastating impact on both human and animal participants. This collection of battlefield artifacts, each with its own story to tell, helps bridge the gap between past and present, offering tangible connections to this pivotal moment in American history. Their preservation and study continue to provide new insights into the battle's nature and scope, ensuring that this crucial chapter in American history remains accessible to future generations. In a remarkable historical photograph, we see Stumthorne, a venerable Cheyenne warrior, proudly displaying a carbine he captured during the Battle of Little Bighorn. The image, taken 44 years after the historic conflict, serves as a powerful connection between the battle's immediate aftermath and its lasting legacy in Native American communities. This artifact, preserved through nearly half a century, tells a story not just of conflict, but of the profound significance these battle trophies held for the victorious warriors. The transformation of the Little Bighorn battlefield from a site of conflict to a place of public interest marks a significant chapter in American historical preservation. In the years following the battle, the location began drawing visitors from across the nation. Though this interest had an unfortunate consequence, many surface artifacts were collected as souvenirs, dispersing crucial historical evidence to private collections throughout the United States. An 1877 photograph provides stark documentation of the battle's aftermath, showing scattered horse bones across Last Stand Hill. This image captures more than just battlefield debris. It records the first attempts to memorialize the fallen, with small timber stakes marking the locations where troopers met their end. These humble markers would later evolve into more permanent memorials. Decades later, in the 1940s, additional horse remains were unexpectedly unearthed during infrastructure work, when workers digging a trench for a pipe installation made the grim discovery. The battlefield continued to yield artifacts that painted a more complete picture of the conflict. Personal items, such as penknives and a preserved trooper's boot, offered intimate glimpses into the human dimension of the battle. These smaller artifacts, often overlooked in broader historical narratives, provide valuable insights into the daily life of the soldiers who fought and fell there. Perhaps most poignant is the monument itself, which incorporated horse bones discovered around the battlefield, a literal integration of the battle's remains into its commemoration. The site preserved relics from both opposing forces, creating a balanced historical record that acknowledges both sides of the conflict. The high bluffs that Custer traversed en route to the village remain virtually unchanged, offering visitors a geographical understanding of the tactical decisions that shaped the battle's outcome. The remote location of the battlefield, far from any major settlement of the era, had significant implications for the preservation of the site. Human remains and battlefield debris lay exposed to the elements for more than a year before proper burial could be arranged, a sobering reminder of the logistical challenges faced in the aftermath of frontier conflicts. This delayed response to the battle's aftermath contributed to both the preservation and loss of historical artifacts. The southwestern section of the battlefield, now known as the Reno-Benteen Battlefield, marks the location where Major Reno's troops first crossed the Little Bighorn River, only to face an immediate and fierce attack from Sioux warriors. This separate but related engagement site provides crucial context for understanding the battle's full scope and complexity. Today, this area stands as a testament to the multiple engagements that comprised what we now call the Battle of Little Bighorn, offering visitors a comprehensive view of how the conflict unfolded across the landscape. Join us on Histories and Native Tales as we continue to uncover the untold stories of the American frontier. Each artifact from the Little Bighorn battlefield holds secrets yet to be revealed, and countless relics may still lie buried beneath these historic grounds. Follow our channel for more fascinating tales of the Old West, where history's mysteries await your discovery. Until next time, remember, every relic tells a story, and every story shapes our understanding of the past.